Thanks a lot for staying with us. So earlier in the week, the governor of Ogun State, Dapo Abiodun, announced a 5 billion Naira intervention fund to cushion the effect of the rising cost of living and inflation in the state. And while addressing reporters in Abeokuta, he said the fund would cover education, health, as well as workers' deductions and food palliatives. He says this move was needed to cushion the hardship being witnessed by residents as a result of the rising food prices and shortages, coupled with the depreciation of the Naira. Governor Abiodun says his administration will continue to take proactive measures to alleviate the impact of those challenges and improve the welfare and well-being of the people at this time. And joining us now to discuss this further is the Senior Special Assistant in Public Communications to the Ogun State Governor, Dapo Abiodun. Welcome. It's good to see you again.
It's a pleasure to be here again.
Right, and tell us more about this policy that the governor has put in place. It's spreading out, to various sectors. Education, school children also stand to benefit, as well as civil servants. And just give us more details.
Thank you. What His Excellency did is what he described as very, very important interventions in various sectors of the lives of the people of the state. And like you read that, 5 billion Naira, that's what was spent on this intervention. And it's meant to cushion the effect of the ongoing inflation we are all experiencing. It's a general thing, and the governor realizes that the people need some form of succor, and that's what he set out to do. And he's doing it in a way that his intention actually, and that's why it's a bit different, to get it to the very people who need it, to ensure that it serves the purpose it is meant for. And if you look at the breakdown, like you said, education, food security, and other things, even workers' welfare, health, and the likes. For example, let me break this down. The governor is intervening in not just education by funding education more. He's giving out money to pupils and students in primary and secondary education across the state. Insofar as each pupil will get 10,000 Naira. Of course, we all know that while it is meant for the pupils, it will help the family. Whatever it is spent on will no longer have to be, that money won't need to be sourced by the parents again. So it's meant to alleviate the impact of the current situation on families and on the pupils themselves. So every pupil gets 10,000 Naira. Also, for those in tertiary institutions, so far you are from Ogun State, and you are in tertiary institution, either you are schooling within the state or outside the state, you are entitled to a 50,000 Naira grant. As a student in tertiary institutions, the governor is giving 50,000 Naira grant.
Different from bursary?
It's different from bursary. Totally. This is a one-off thing for you. Take this, let's see how it can, help alleviate the current situation. These are things that they are just for this situation.
Okay. The money for the grant that will be given to the public and secondary school children, is this one-off, or is this going to be recurring?
It's one-off now, but looking at how things farm out, like he said, the governor said we'll do more, but this is a one-off now. Let's do this and let's see. And don't forget that also Ogun State has been paying transport to workers. This is the 8th month, while others have done 1-2 months and so on. So apart from that, also is the issue of food. 300,000 families will be getting a package that includes rice, beans, gari, and other edibles that families need. We'll be getting it from this intervention. 300,000 families across the state, residents of Ogun State, we're getting that from the government. And also there is the issue of the deduction he spoke about. You know, this is an inherited issue. Some deductions were made from workers in the past, which the governor, since he came in, have been paying. And he said he would double up effort in paying more, so that these monies can help the workers also feel better in this situation.
Right. So one of these is the health insurance, which you mentioned. You know, while the Dapo Abiodun-led administration is, commendably providing health insurance for the people, especially for this time, coverage in terms of prenatal care for expectant mothers. How do you think the plan is there for to ensure that the services are accessible to all indigent natives or indigents rather,
as long as
residents rather in Ogun State,
as long
especially people who are in remote areas and on the underserved areas?
Yeah, you see, these are things that have been considered. As long as you live in Ogun State, you'll have access to this thing. Note that it's in various categories. There is an insurance scheme that takes care of not just the pregnant women, pregnant, elderly, aged, and disabled, and all that. It's good. A scheme that will cost about 18,000 naira per person for 70,000 beneficiaries. That's and this is for people in this category.
The figures you've mentioned, you at first you mentioned 300,000, households.
That is
now you're talking about
70,000. This is the insurance.
How does
this is a separate one.
How does the government arrive at this? How does it arrive at this? These figures. Is it based on of course certainly there are more people.
There are more people.
That figures.
There are more people.
And
that's why we said these things are in phases. We don't just want to throw this thing out. Go there, everybody, you can now access. We need to track this thing. So by the time we have 70,000 already done, the possibility of saying, okay, let's have more, so that it's something we can track. It is not just the government that is doing it. It is in association with an insurance, health insurance scheme. So we also want to be able to track what has been done. For a start, 70,000 people, elderly, disabled, children would have access to this. Then there is the one for pregnant women is different. That is, is open-ended. As long as you are pregnant, you walk into any of our health facilities or institutions under the Bidero scheme, you will be given...
Just anyhow, person cannot just walk in. Will the person have some certain...
Once you are pregnant, go to our facility. They'll take your registration.
Residents or...
Residents. Once you are pregnant, go to any of the facility. I'm pregnant, you will be given, as long as it is in government facilities. It's free.
But when are these, these policies going to take off? How soon? Because
it's with immediate effect.
Okay, so as from now,
you go there. The process, of course, there will be processes. The process starts immediately.
So is there a verification process, like to access the 5,000 naira for the pregnant women?
No, there is no verification. If you come to our health facility, you deliver there, they saw you, to give you.
Okay.
The process perhaps is for you to go and tell them, I am pregnant. I want to access these facilities. That's the process.
All right, Mr. Odufowoko, and another, because, before, I think at the onset of this administration, the issue of social register or social welfare, came on board, and governors have been speaking up, on this issue, saying that the federal register couldn't be sustainable because we have these people in our respective domains. Let us have that power to determine who is poor. But in all of this, tied to Ibrahim's, curiosity, I wonder what peculiarities, Ogun State considered, in arriving at 300,000, 70,000, and all, which you even say is not the whole number. So what peculiarities, how were you able to establish, and how will you ensure that it is the poor that get these items as announced by government?
Beyond the poor now. Right. So if you look at the things we are doing, the arrangement for workers is not for the poor, it's for workers. The arrangement for pregnant women is not for the poor, it's for pregnant women. Either you are poor, you are rich. If you are approached, if you go to our facilities, you will enjoy it. The arrangement for students is not for the poor, it's for students. Okay. You will see that even beyond having to explain the data, from what we have done, you would understand that Ogun State has gone beyond just giving to the poorest of the poor and that. Now we are saying, yes, we have the poor.
But they maybe when it comes to
food items and the likes,
right.
we consider the poorest of the poor more. Okay. But the governor is saying beyond this poorest of the poor we talk about, there are others too who would be happy to receive some form of assistance. There are others too to whom this assistance will also be of good help. For example, if you are rich or you are poor and you have your children in our schools and they are opportune to receive this assistance, it will plug some holes. Either you are poor or you are rich. If you have your children in higher institutions and they are from Ogun State and they get 50,000 naira, that month they got that. I agree with the young man or young woman that let me reduce your upkeep a bit so that me too can feel the impact of this. So it's from what we read out, which was personally read out by the governor himself, you will see some signs of serious planning before coming to say it. So I can assure you that we will not be relying on the National Social Register. Ogun State is going to be working with data that would serve the greatest good to the greatest number of people, as far as these interventions are concerned.
Well, the governor stated that the economic challenges are temporary and will end soon. But yes. Then, with the ongoing global uncertainties, leading to shortages, we just talked earlier this morning about UK falling into recession. Yeah. Even some other 7 developed economies rather, are also facing economic challenges. Isn't Ogun State late to the party? If you look at the North, for instance, Governor Omar Zulum, every now and then we see people carrying grains of rice, doing this and that. What has Ogun State government been doing up until now that we are getting this information, which has not even taken, kick-started?
Yeah, well, I've been here before to discuss some of our interventions. So when you talk, and that's why when they say some governors in this part of the country, I'd say no. Ogun State has been on this since last year, way back. I've been here to discuss some of our interventions. Aside food, which has almost become something we do regularly, because a lot of people need food to stay alive. Before you even start talking about surviving the economic difficulty, getting better jobs, having salary increase, they need to eat. So we've been doing that before now. Maybe what we want to do now is on a larger scale. Aside that also is the issue of easing the pains of the people through other interventions, like we were the first to introduce CNG buses. And when we did, workers were allowed to benefit from this.
Well, only the civil servants benefited from this.
Workers, when I say workers, they were placed in strategic locations.
When someone in government says workers, we understand.
Okay, now you understand better now. The publics were placed in, buses were placed in public places where people could enter them to designated locations. And then beyond that also, we expanded it by bringing it to taking to other places with reduced fare. Where they take 500, we say 250. Where they take 600, we say 300. CNG, it's operating from even Mowe to Bega here. It's been on for months. In other parts of the state, we introduced that. The intention is to help reduce the cost of transportation. Beyond that is also the support for farmers. The idea was, can we encourage our people to plant more? Maybe this will help this food security issue. Our Ministry of Agriculture on its own have been supporting farmers with grants. Okay, don't go and borrow money where you will have to pay huge interest. Come, let's see how we can work things together. Farmers associations across the state have been giving these grants and soft loans. Fertilizers and other farm necessities have been provided. So these are the kind of interventions that have been going on. It is not until you start seeing people carrying bags of rice on their head there were needs to understand the peculiarities of each community, society, group, associations, and other concerned people, so as to know what's best they need. There are people who don't need food. So that's not to say they are not affected by the current situation. Yeah. For example,
people who don't need food.
I mean, whose need?
Right.
It's not food. They can still afford to eat.
Oh, okay.
So what would they be needing?
For example, let me tell you, somebody who can eat but has cars to go to work, and it's becoming difficult to fuel his car. And then the government comes with a CNG bus at his bus stop. And what does it do now? Drive from inside his estate to the bus stop. There's a parking space, parks, and takes the bus to work and back to him. That's a huge intervention.
Right.
You understand? So it's each person's peculiarity will have to be attended to.
Okay, but quickly, Mr. Odufowoko, so tied to all of this, it all sounds good on paper, and we hope that, implementation-wise, it's going to be smooth. But, tied to all of this is the issue of security. And, for many people, that is even the most important thing. And, in the news, which I'm sure you're following, governors have, will I say, gotten what they wish now, so to speak. Looking at the idea of state police is finally taking roots. The federal government has said it is now, we are now in the implement, or how will I call it now, the strategy stage. How we do it. How we can do it. And there are still cynics who say it is still not the solution because of the fear of abuse by state governors. Right.
You see, I'm happy you also said it's a strategy stage, planning stage, and whatever. But before we even get there, assuming without conceding that we'll get state police, what will we be doing until that point? I think that's my concern. And that's why, even while reeling out these interventions, my governor did say that he will be taking the issue of security very seriously as usual, that he will not allow criminals to test the will of government. Because in the midst of all these economic difficulties, some people are now hiding crime and threats. He's doing a lot. He has been doing a lot to ensure that security in the state. And that's why in Ogun State, even when crime happens, we are very swift to crack it. That I can say anywhere. The records are there. You can't stop criminals from wanting to be criminals. Our duty is to stop them from getting away with it when they do it. And that serves as a lesson to others to ensure you don't do it, you won't get away with it. So, talking about state police, to many of us, is a way out of our current security situation. To some people, it is still not the answer. But let's see how we'll get there. Let's have it. Let's see how it runs. If you are afraid that a father will beat his child to death, it is no reason for you to encourage the child to go to the neighbor's house and start stealing. We will have to take chances and balance the situation. It has become obvious that we need some form of community policing, local policing to solve most of the crises across the country. The people from a particular area would obviously know best how to address the crime in their society. Now, the presidency is saying we can give it a try. We can only appeal that this is done swiftly. But before then, we should continue to strengthen measures we are currently using so that lives and properties of these people will be safe.
All right. We'll hope for another opportunity to engage with you further on this and speak to some of these pertinent issues. Dapo Odufowoko, Senior Special Assistant on Public Communications to Governor Dapo Abiodun. Thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you very much.
And that's our